you were wearing from the beginning a lot of hats, which I think that nowadays people don't want to do the most. And sometimes not only because you're a woman, but as a Latina, and also just being so driven, you're willing to put on the hat to be able to achieve more and to be able to showcase your interest, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed it in a few conversations that I've come across with younger people that they're like, well, this is what I got hired to do, so why do I have to do more? Well, when you have a passion for it, you're willing to do it all.
Go above and beyond. Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. Like I said, like I was there late, just like working on stuff. We'd have an event and I was there making sure everything was like, organized correctly or done correctly. You just go above and beyond, especially when you're that young and you're that hungry and you're like, I'm really loving what I'm doing. So it's not a burden.
Right.
But yeah, that's true. In today's generation, it feels like people are too lazy or no shade, but like, people will be like, oh, my mental health, I can't do too much of this. I understand like putting boundaries, but at the same time, there's also like a part where...
Well, I think there has to be a season of your life when you're focused on a goal. You have to go far and beyond your keeping your social group or having 9 to 9 schedule where you're like, I have to do this and I have to do this and this. You have to stretch your bandwidth to be able to get to new heights and new levels. Like that's just the reality of it. Whether it's building a relationship with someone or it's building your career and your dream career with someone, you know? Okay, so you did that, and then what happens next?
So like I said, from there, I was thinking, what do I want to do and like hone in on a little bit more? So I was like, I like social. So like, let me find a job that like focuses solely on social. So I'm not wearing so many hats. So at that time, I was like kind of interviewing around, and then I found this job at OPI, which was like a social manager. And so moved there, which I was also like an OPI lover. Just I bought like all the collections and things that would come out. So
they had a cult following for a while back in the day.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So like anytime there was like a new collection, like I go to Ulta to see it and like pick out new shades. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I think just getting to touch another brand that I was like passionate about, I was really excited about.
Did your love for beauty come from seeing your family members love beauty, or was it more that you saw it and you wanted to attain it, you wanted to be able to afford it? Like, where did your love for beauty come?
I can say like a little bit of both. Okay. I think my mom and I'd say people a little bit closer to me aren't really into beauty the way I am. So I just remember like I used to get in trouble for painting my nails or putting makeup on. Latina moms are always like, what are you doing? Like, are you painting your face? You're too young for this.
Like, no necesitas novio.
Yeah.
Take that off. Yeah.
Take it off. But I'd like, go to school and like, you know, put eyeshadow on or something, and then I'd like take it off by the time I got home. But I will say that there are people in my family that I have seen and I've always admired that. I'm like, oh, she always wears like red lipstick, or she always does her hair or has curls. My grandma also like was passionate about her hair, so she always woke up with curls and stuff. So I think it's like a mix, but then it was also mainly me just wanting to attain that a little bit later, because I feel like this is part of me. I was always one person that always like, cared about like, what I wore or what I was putting on my face. So.
Same. I think for me growing up, I grew up without having the best setting, but my mom would work paycheck to paycheck. She was a single mom for a lot of the time. And I remember one of the first products I ever bought was L'Oreal True Match Foundation. And I thought it was so cool. I was like, oh my God, I've made it. And then growing up, I was like, I can't wait till I go into Sephora and I'm able to buy something, because Sephora was so expensive to me that I was a CVS and Walgreens girl. And even then, still to this day, you will walk into CVS and Walgreens and come out with a $200 tab that you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
How?
It's getting expensive.
Yeah. So it's like, for me too, beauty started really early on. And random little fun fact, I used to do the makeup for my friends. And back then it was Physicians Formula. I don't know if you ever used Physicians Formula, but it was a CVS brand. Okay. It is, they're still around. And they used to have a compact that was a sun, and it had different shades. So like bronzed all the way to like gold. It's the center for the sun. Yeah. And I used to just like rub it around and put it on people's faces. And I'd be like, you look beautiful. I was making them disco balls. I feel so bad. But still,
because it was shiny?
Yeah. And I thought they just looked beautiful. And everybody was like, yes, let's get ready to go to the underage party that we're not supposed to be going to. But we would go. And now I look back and I'm like, these people really trusted me doing their makeup. But
they loved it.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Okay, so back to you. We did Joico. We did OPI.
Yeah.
What at OPI made you be like, I either reached the end of this position or you just had to go on to the next thing? Were you like, oh, what, did an opportunity come about?
An opportunity came about, and that was e.l.f., of course. But it was also the fact that at that point in time, like there was so many shifts and things happening. It had just been bought by Coty, so budgets were being taken away, and like we just weren't able to do as many cool things like I was used to doing.
Were you on LinkedIn? Because I think a lot of people that want to get into the marketing space nowadays may not know how how do I get in? It seems so overwhelming. Where do I start?
Yeah.
So was LinkedIn the place that you always went for jobs, or how did you go
I was
about
on
it?
LinkedIn, a few other sites. I can't remember all the names. I don't know if they're around anymore, but like I was doing that a lot.
Okay.
I was also looking, like blogs were in back then. So
Yeah.
I'd see like a Mariana Hewitt or someone like post something about like, fashion jobs or beauty jobs or something. And they do a really good job of like listing out jobs and links to things. So I was always like on the blogs, like looking and trying to find stuff.
How do you look for employees now? Do you go on LinkedIn to look for candidates?
It depends. Like, I think LinkedIn is definitely the number one place where I always go and look for people just because you can see where everyone's been, like what jobs they've had, links to other people, and find connections. So I think that's probably one of the best places. Even the jobs on there are now being posted. Like, if you're in California, New York, now they have to post the salaries and all that kind of stuff. So it's so important. I think if you are looking for a job in marketing, that LinkedIn should be the place to start. And like following those companies that you want to see jobs come out of, because they'll usually post like, hey, we have a new job posting or something. I always go and I'll follow the ones that I've been looking forward to. Like, maybe they'll have a job for me someday.
Did you ever feel intimidated when applying to a job?
I don't feel intimidated anymore. I think in the beginning,
Yeah, when
like
you were,
not
like, in
having
your
as much
early 20s,
experience.
right.
Yeah, but now I'm like, I know what I bring to the table.
Yeah, well, now
so
she's a
it's-
boss bitch, you know? She's like, have you seen my resume? You know?
Exactly. So I just,
But in the beginning,
easier.
you're back to college life. So
Yeah.
how was that girl dealing with applying for jobs? And where was your mental space at when applying for jobs? And how did you process kind of like, I guess you could call it the imposter of, am I going to be good for this? But you were still applying.
yeah.
So you
I was
weren't
always
letting it,
applying.
holding
No,
it.
I
Yeah.
wasn't. I was still applying. Like I said, I was just very excited about the opportunity. So I think that showed when I was interviewing or just in general looking for stuff. I was applying to everywhere that I thought would be cool, and like whatever lands, lands, and whatever doesn't. Like, I don't think I was bummed if something didn't work out. I just kind of think everything happens for a reason, and everything's led me to this point. So
Did you ever have to work in a non-beauty space in between jobs?
No, actually haven't. I've done a lot of beauty related stuff. And even when I was in between waiting for another opportunity, I worked at like Shein or contracted on different accounts that have all been like beauty or fashion related.
And I think a
So-
lot of people don't take the opportunities of contracts because it's just a
Yeah.
contract, but a lot of contract jobs can evolve to an actual full-time position.
Yeah.
If you do a good job.
Yeah, like Shein actually wanted to hire me, but I was like looking at Fenty Beauty at the time. So of course it was kind of like, not sure. Yeah, exactly. Not sure this is for me. And Shein was huge like at the height of the pandemic too. And I worked with them like on a special project that they did for this whole charity event for COVID, which was actually really cool. But they were like actually looking to hire me on as well. But just based on everything that was going on and like the potential to work at Fenty Beauty, which was like a dream job for me at the time, I was like, this is great, but I'm holding out for something a little bit better.
And that was going to
coming.
be my next question. So what was your dream brand to work for? It was Fenty?
It was Fenty. Yeah, it was
And then
definitely
how did
Fenty.
that come about? How did you feel when applying and then finally
Yeah.
getting the answer of, after X amount of interviews, you've got the job?
It was a lot of interviews for sure. But I think one thing that got me noticed is after I left OPI, I went to ELF actually. And I was actually referred to ELF from Grant because Grant and I met at OPI. And you know, Grant is one of my close friends and he's great. So he recommended me for ELF and I went over there and we got to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, I was just actually talking to the team the other day about all the stuff we got to do when I first got there. I mean, you saw us do like Beautyscape and do like really fun,
That's how
cool
I actually
things.
met Sam.
Yeah.
Not only do we have mutual friends that we now hang out on a occasional, constant, very random basis, but we have a group of close friends. But also, I actually submitted to ELF Beautyscape. And I feel like that's the last one that happened that was really big. And then unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the winners had to like swift in their winning their thing that it was like a launch of, I thought it was so cool. It was like the craziest, most stressful 3 days of my life. You create an entire summer collection while you're getting videotaped with a group of 8 people in a destination of their choice. We literally got there and they're like, all right, 3, 2, 1, go. And it's everybody's just running back to their room. We have to create an entire summer collection. We have a graphic designer at all times coming up with concepts to be able to showcase, to present by Sunday to Target, ELF, Bustle, and a few other people in that world that is not only extremely overwhelming and scary, but also so invigorating. And it just like brings out the creative of you like never before. I would do it again all the time, but it was very stressful. And that's where I actually got to know Sam.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then from there, you did that.
So yeah, I did a lot of cool things. We did like a really huge like TikTok campaign. So then I think Fenty kind of like took notice, and then like brands do, like they always want to bring like someone cool or like keep an eye out on like what other brands are doing. That is
Was
like,
that
really...
around the time where the TikTok song came out of
Yeah.
Eyes, Lips, Face? Okay.
That was like the first big campaign that I worked on with them. So that was, I think Fenty was kind of like taking notice of us taking TikTok by storm, and then kind of like was looking at key players and who was making this happen. So I'm sure my name popped up because that was one of the first things they asked me about in the interview, was like, give us the process, tell us what happened. So that was cool. Like it was just actually like being noticed and people seeking you out. Like I think that's the first time where that's really happened to me. And then like from the Dream brand, of course, I was like head over heels. So yeah, that was fun.
So
and
you
then,
got Fenty.
yes. So
Were you at any point scared of the position? Because it was such a big, I mean, working for Fenty at the time, when you got on, it was the it brand. And I still think it's like the it brand to work for. You can't get bigger than Fenty because they're so known for their wide ranges, their inclusivity. They're just very detailed with their campaigns and their releases. Did you feel at that time you're like, I'm ready for this?
It was intimidating,
Yeah.
I will say. Like in the beginning, it was very intimidating. And I think more so just because we were all working remote. So that brings like a whole other element of like, I don't know these people. And there was a little bit of like drama, of course, behind the scenes, as there always is. A little corporate drama.
I mean, but you already had dealt with a little corporate drama, right? And past companies.
Yes, exactly. So kind of being thrown into something else, which I ended up handling really well, I would say. But it was also a volatile time where all the protests and things were happening. It was just a weird, weird time. And then working directly with like Rihanna's team and like being on text with like her social person, and like it was a lot for sure.
Now, when you have dealt with things like having to deal with corporate people, other creatives, maybe it's social teams of the CEOs, like in this case, it was celebrity-based company, or past companies like you worked in, Joico, OPI, ELF, and you're having to respond to other people, whether it's other people of other ethnicities or a different gender. How have you been able to tackle that while standing firm in the fact that you want to be respected, right? Because as a Latina, as a woman, a lot of times people can oversee you and be like, I don't give a F.
Yeah.
So how have you tackled that? Because your demeanor since I've met you has always been, don't F with me. And you've always given that. So in a setting where now you have to answer to others when you have been disrespected or when you have been talked down to, for anybody that is listening, how have you tackled that in the most professional but assertive way?
I think I'm just a very direct person. I don't like the fluff. I don't like to BS around. Like, I think also that kind of rubs some people the wrong way. Like, they're not used to that. Like, they want you to sit there and kiss their ass. And you're like, but this isn't how it's going to work, or doesn't make sense. And I think just being knowledgeable and being confident in what you know is helpful, because then you can just stand your ground and say like, no, I don't think this is going to work. And respectfully, I disagree with you.
Have you ever chosen to leave a job because of the way you were being treated?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And did you ever feel guilty, or did you ever question like, damn, should I have not said that? Because now I'm having to leave a position because I stood up for myself.
No, I don't think I have, because something always better comes along. Something that's better suited for me comes along. And I feel like that's my feeling of like relief that I did the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, just saying like I did the right thing and something better did come along.
And I think also it gives you a kind of feeling of assurance that sometimes you know it's your time to go, and you keep accepting things because you're so scared of what if something doesn't come, and then you take the jump and it's like the floodgates of heaven open.
Exactly.
And they're like, there's this and there's this and there's this. And you're like, oh, all I had to do was jump.
Yeah.